The Deftones are back with a brand new single called My Mind is a Mountain, which is accompanying their album that has been just announced. It's coming out in a month, so much quicker turnaround than some of these announcements have been. Private Music, which is coming out on August the 27th. Deftones is an interesting one. They're one of those bands that I have internally categorized as someone I know and like, until somebody actually asks me to name songs and I realize I can name two. And I've seen them live. It's crazy. I know My Own Summer Shove It. I know that's probably one of their most popular songs by a fair margin. I don't know, Change in the House of Flies. And currently looking at their Spotify, I've realized they really have a penchant for brackets inside their song titles. I saw them in 2016 at Download Festival, pretty much only knowing My Own Summer. And I think, because if I'm not mistaken, they released an album that year. Yes. So they released an album called Gore that year, which is actually, there's only been one other one since then. They are not quick. They're like Chili Peppers levels of cranking out material. So I did listen to this album a few times in the run-up to seeing them, just because I saw their name on the lineup as one does. You know, if you buy a ticket to a festival, you start scanning through and finding stuff you like or might like. And I discovered that I did quite like Deftones, but I guess maybe I had too many other bands to try and get into at the time. I mean, that Download was a particularly good lineup too. Freaking... look at that. I mean, talk of the devil, freaking Black Sabbath, rest in peace Ozzy, was fantastic then. Iron Maiden, Deftones, Rammstein, what a great lineup that was. I just kind of never followed up on them, and I don't really know why. Whilst I was setting up to make this video, I was just putting my setup and all that, I just chucked on the top 5-6 songs on Deftones Spotify, and I found I really like them. I don't know how it's taken me this long to realize that this is a band I might actually really like. They remind me a lot of a bunch of stuff immediately based on the songs I listen to, which is obviously only about 5 of them. I got a lot of Smashing Pumpkins coming out of there, which is, I like Smashing Pumpkins a lot, but it's kind of funny because my girlfriend's like a really big Smash Pumps fan and has seemed to have avoided the Deftones. I don't know whether or not maybe My Own Summer being like the only exposure, it's a bit heavy in the chorus at least, it's quite screamy, but what I like about that song compared to other bands that are just like scream, 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 is that the build-up on the verses is so like, he sounds like he's in the process of overdosing quietly in the corner whilst that's happening, and then suddenly you get this massive wall of sound. So yeah, anyway, I know that people are quite excited about the new album. I saw a couple of interviews with various people whose names I'm not going to pretend I remember, saying that it's quite a big follow-up to Ohms, which is the album from 2020, which I've also not heard anything from at all. So, yeah. As you can tell, speaking from a place of knowledge here, no, I thought it would be a really good opportunity to listen to the new song, check out the music video, and yeah, see if it sticks. This might be the beginning of me becoming a big Deftones fan. I can kind of see this on the cards, actually. Let's just jump in and listen to My Mind is a Mountain. Definitely come in with a big, fat, heavy intro to start with. It's, I mean, just that same chord, but kind of slammed on in there with a couple of, like, synth lines to kind of even it up is quite nice. So definitely it sort of, it feels like an album opener, which I think it is, which is an interesting trend. I have noticed a lot of bands recently releasing the first, like, 4 or 5 tracks of their albums as singles in order. I don't know why that seems strange to me. I guess for me, when I've ever released music, the idea being that you'd hopefully scatter a few of the tracks that you've released throughout the album to keep people listening, because sometimes I feel like, you know, you might fall into the trap with new people who are, you know, getting into the band or the album where they listen to the couple of songs they know, and then maybe they don't have the time span to sit down and listen to the whole album in its entirety, so they end up just binging the few songs they already know and not really exploring the latter depths. But this is clearly something that I'm not right on, because like everyone appears to be doing that at the moment. Freaking Sleep Token basically released the entirety of their album, so I don't know. They definitely have this like wall of sound thing going on. Like the vocals are mixed comparatively quietly, I think, which I actually think I've noticed is a thing in a couple of other Deftones songs that I've listened to. It's kind of nice, actually. The backing is very thick, very chunky, somewhat repetitive, but that's fine because it kind of almost has this industrial thing, whilst his voice is comparatively high in the mix in terms of where it's sitting in terms of his register, and it's kind of quite melodic, which really contrasts nicely with just how fat and heavy the rest of it is. Also curious, I guess it's the touring bassist who's doing this. As far as I'm aware, the previous bassist left over a contract dispute like couple of years ago, and I don't think they've got a permanent replacement now. I think they just have a touring one, so I guess maybe he's the recording artist in this too. I don't know. Someone had to let me know. Okay. I really like the shuffle up here in terms of the drums have gone half time now. It's kind of slows up a little bit, and in regard to that, now you've got some backing vocals there, some more kind of echoey synths to kind of give this more doom metal-y feel almost. That is when his vocals get a little bit rougher. I really like the way that they kind of always work in balance like that. It's really interesting. He's definitely like the main character of this song, right? This story. It's really vocal focused, which is why the mixing is a little bit confusing to me. I get it, but I'm finding it a little bit hard to pick out the lyrics, which to be fair is often a problem on the first listen anyway, full stop, when you're not really focusing on it when you're listening to the larger picture. But I do love the ebb and flow of this song. It feels very passionate, which I think is something else I picked up on with the other Deftones songs that I vaguely know, is he really does feel like he's saying something meaningful. I've not always been able to pick out exactly what it is he's trying to say, but it definitely feels like it's coming from the heart. They have this kind of like energy to them, which I really like. So just in terms of structure, it's returning back to that really dong, 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 ba, 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 bum. It's got a very epic, quite sort of like rhythmic feel to it in that regard. It's very heavy, kind of pushing theirs, which again, why I like the vocals kind of floating over the top. It's cool. I like it so far. I really like this section, the way that his vocals kind of like raise up into that slightly more shouted bit. At the same time, you get the backing vocals and the synth coming and doing like a kind of descending thing is really, really nice, because it picks up the melody where his vocals in the verses have left off, because he's quite monotone here, right? It's da, 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 da. He's almost mimicking what the guitars were doing with that kind of like one note, very rhythmic delivery, which is nice because you've got the synths and the other stuff coming in there to fulfill the melody that is now gone to him sort of like doing the more shouting part, which I really like. The way that they all kind of like pick up and ebb and flow around each other. It feels like a band that is such a unit. Like they all are operating on the same like kind of emotional wavelength, which is also definitely displayed by the music video too. It's like, it's just a performance video, but it's like a well shot one. They are very charismatic on screen. The visuals are really interesting. Like, you know, the color palette is nicely done. They've all got a really good energy to them. He seems like a really charismatic frontman, which is kind of crazy for me to say considering I have in fact seen him live, but it was a while ago now, so forgive me. Man, this chorus is so rich. I love that. It's gone from being like almost the rhythm section at least, very much doing basically the same thing. The bass and the guitar are so in sync that it's just dong, 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 dong. And then you open out for this chorus, which I was kind of waiting for. It was definitely sort of due it about now. And his vocals have suddenly become way more sort of melodic. We've got loads more kind of like melody kind of flowing on there. He's got a bit more like sort of reverb and delay maybe mixed in there on top of that. And then meanwhile, the synths have all gone brr and opened out massively in the sides and the pans there. You've got a second overdub guitar line on the right pan there that is picking out a kind of like descending thing, which is really nice because a lot of it's going up apart from that. It's suddenly become really musically complicated, which is so nice as a payoff. Like the sort of unbridled energy, the sort of feeling of an explosion of emotion there is very tangible, when that is helped with the more subdued start in terms of how sort of varied stuff is and the way that the guitars and the vocals kind of balance and out everything's gone brah! It's great. Okay. I really like that. I really like that. Short and sweet, just under 3 minutes long, but I really like the way that it built up for that. We got one chorus. It's interesting. It actually reminds me a little bit of President's Rage, which I'm just probably making an excuse to turn everything back to President. But the way that it's kind of built up, you kind of have these two verses with a kind of pre-chorus stuck in between them that varies things up a little bit, kind of teases like it's about to explode, then it comes and brings it back down again. You get this way more muted vocal coming through those verses to then go into that kind of like slightly more screamy pre-chorus, and back in the ebb and the flow, and then you suddenly get this massive wall of sound explosion chorus where you've got guitars in both pans doing like dueling descending and ascending lines in various ways. It's really nice because they contrast super nicely with the sort of fat rhythm guitar that's going on in the background. The synths all explode out. He gets a lot more passionate with his vocal delivery in that chorusy part as well. That was great. I really like that. This is, again, more testimony to the fact that I cannot believe it has taken me this long to figure out I probably actually really do like the Deftones. I'm gonna have to go on a voyage to discovery now. If you want to let me know in the comments some good songs out of their catalogue, I'm sure there's plenty of them and plenty of you to recommend them. Please do. I might even make a video where I just go listen through like 5 or 6 of them and just kind of like expand my knowledge with some deeper cuts recommended by you, the fans. So let me know in the comments. That would be excellent. I'm definitely going to have to pay attention to this album. It's kind of nice to have the sort of instant gratification of an album release sort of happening only like a month or two after the sort of announcement. I sometimes find it a little bit hard when they're like, oh cool, here's a single, be really excited, but the album comes out in 4 months, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like, you know, maybe spend a week every time you release a single obsessing, and then it's gonna go out of my mind. I do think there's something to be said for striking that middle ground somewhere between kind of like, you know, allowing hype to accrue and people to get excited and to be familiar with the songs you've already put out, and sort of like keeping the hype machine going for as long as possible, keep yourself in the news cycle. But I also think some bands long it out too long, and that I find irritating. You like look at their sort of release schedule and you say, oh cool, we've already got 3 or 4 songs out and the album's still not out for like 2 months. Yeah, I don't know, I'm sure, well, again, there are plenty of music marketing people who are probably way smarter than me on this regard, but to me, it feels like a little bit too much. So I'm very glad to see the Deftones have only got making us wait like a month as of now. So cool, yeah, great. I am very excited to hear more. And so yeah, thank you very much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that crazy stuff. Follow me on the socials. Let me know, like I said, in the comments, any deep cut Deftones stuff that you'd like me to listen to, and also just your opinion on this song versus older stuff. It feels to me pretty in keeping with what I've heard, but what do I know? I'm a noob. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Like, share, subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.